All right. So I told you guys last time I'm writing a book talking about marriage and divorce. So I just took a break. I've been writing all day. So I just said, let me take a break, share with you guys some of my research. So I've been doing a lot of research, right? So whenever I write a research, so something some insights. It's just a little glimpse into the not so obvious, right? So stay with me here. When you marry someone, you have yet to wed that person, right? Wedding. We know what wedding means. Wedding means a marriage. Right. Yes and no. It does mean a marriage. You look up the word wedding, pertains to marriage, pertains to getting married. However, the word wedding is a participle, a present participle of the word wed, right? Because you got the ing. Now, the word wed doesn't mean marriage at all. The word wed means to fuse. It means to fuse, to join, to unify two things into a single entity. Hence the word wedding. Two people get married, they fuse and become one. Makes sense, right? Okay. But pay attention to this. So when you marry, right? When you get married, you are not you have yet to wed. Getting married does not mean you have wed. You have yet to wed. Stay with me. Marriage is the ostentatious, it is the outward display for the state to recognize your union. It is an outward ceremonial rite, formalities. It's the formalities, the rites, the rituals, the ceremonies for the state to see and acknowledge, recognize your union. That's marriage. Wedding, however, is not marriage. Wedding, the participle, the present participle of the word wed, which is a verb, wedding, gerund verb, is the actual fusing, the uniting, the joining to become one entity, one single entity. All right. So I'm sure y'all like where he going with this. Here's where I'm going with this. Nuclear fusion, science. When you study nuclear fusion is two atoms coming together in proximity to fuse to become other atoms or bigger atoms. Here's what's interesting. When two atoms come together in proximity, collide, they don't fuse right away. They cannot fuse right away because each atom brings with it a charge that is the same. And we all know from basic physics, right? Like repels, opposites attract, right? Like particles repel, like charges repel, opposite charges attract. That's basic. We all know that. So when two atoms come together, they create what's called an electrostatic force or an electrostatic barrier. That means they cannot fuse. Even though they're in proximity, they can't fuse until they overcome the electrostatic barrier. Stay with me here. I'm using science to prove how how we function, whether we know it or not, because we are science. There's no denying that. We are all science. Science makes compose every human being. We're all found in science. Everything in my body is science. So the two atoms come together, but they can't fuse. Nuclear fusion. This is the nuclear fusion process. You have nuclear fusion and nuclear fission. We're talking about fusing. They cannot fuse even though they are collided or in proximity because they both bring what's called charged particles that are of like energy, and therefore they create a natural repellent. They are a natural repellent or repulsion. They repel each other. Those charges are each atom has an electron that orbits it. Each atom has electrons that orbit it. Those electrons are negatively charged. So when atoms come together, the first interaction is between two negatively charged forces, which are the electrons. They're both negative charge. So I'm an atom, you're an atom. We come together. I have electrons, you have electrons. We repel each other because we have like energies. Two negatively charged energies repel each other. So that creates what's called electrostatic force. But so how do fusion takes place? Here's how it takes place. There is each atom has to release enough energy to overcome the electrostatic barrier, right? So if the energy is not sufficient, they won't be able to overcome the electrostatic barrier, which is a result of the positive, the like charges repelling each other. So that force must be overcome. Atoms overcome that force by entering into what's called quantum tunneling. Quantum tunneling, it's a phenomenon. It's not something that's really could be explained. It's a phenomenon, but they do explain it as the atom's ability to go on the opposite sides, to end up or appear on the opposite side of that barrier, which is the electrostatic force. So I'm an atom, somehow I appear on the other side of the barrier. You appear on the other side of the barrier. Once both atoms, right, that come together to pair, once they get across their electrostatic barrier that they create themselves, it's their own barrier that they create, which is a result of their properties, their charges. Once they overcome the barrier, the electrostatic barrier, fusion is completed. Fusion has now been permanently, indefinitely completed. A new atom is formed, so on and so forth. How does it apply to marriage? Why did I use that? Because that, if you're paying attention, I'm not going to say you're not paying attention because this is some heavy stuff. If you were able to keep up with it, you realize that I just explained man and woman and what happens when man and woman come together. But we use the atoms because it's so important for us to get this, right? We are the science. It's inescapable. I remember years ago, I used to talk to people about theology. I was a Bible pusher. I would use the Bible. I knew the Bible like the back of my hand. I still do. And I would use biblical scriptures to substantiate certain claims, and people would laugh. They're not just laugh, but no one will take you serious because a lot of people don't believe in the Bible. A lot of people don't accept faith. And I get it. We're reasonable, we're rational, we're logical. We like to feel. We operate on 5 base senses. We like to see it, feel it, touch it, smell it, taste it. If our 5 senses can't connect to it, we kind of like dismiss it. But, however, with science, your 5 senses can. Right? Your 5 senses can interact with science, literally. Stuff that I'm studying scientifically has been researched by the Einsteins, the Sharon Schrodingers, the Max Planck, Thomas Young, all these great minds. It's been proven. These are tried test theories. They're no longer theories. They're actual factuals, data, empirical data, meaning it has been observed, tested, tried, proven. So obviously they use special devices because these things are subatomic, right? To be able to see. But the point is, you can't deny the science. To deny the science would be to deny your own existence. If you deny your own existence, you need to get your head checked. I can't help you. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if there's anybody that can help you, right? You're gone. We tried Jesus. You turned down Jesus. Now you don't even want to listen to Einstein or, Newton. You don't want to listen. You don't believe in the Newtonian physics. Einstein equals E equals MC squared, relativity. You don't believe in none of that. Jesus couldn't help you. Einstein can't help you. None of the scientists can help you. It is what it is. So I use that, and I'm writing my book, and I'm using the science to back it up. So it's the interesting thing is, like I said, atoms come together, and naturally they are repulsive. Naturally. They don't know each other, nothing. There has a natural, and that how does that apply? How do you apply that science to you and I? Is naturally when we come together, now here's something interesting. In the atoms, right? Their level of negative charge is dependent upon their size and their mass. Mass can be translated their baggage, the shit they got going on in their life, right? And mass, and so when we talk about each other, if I meet you, you meet me, female, male, you have mass, I have mass. Mass would be the equivalence of the baggage. The baggage is the things that's here, the damage that has been done to your psyche. At 42, I'm 42. There's damage done to my psyche. There's damage done to your psyche. The difference is I will admit it. You know what I'm saying? Everyone has some kind of psychological damage. We're all traumatized. You're in America 40 something years. Trust me. You're black. You're traumatized. You're white. You're traumatized. There's no, that's the thing. Everyone's traumatized. Here's how the science works. The atoms' ability to break through the barrier depends on their mass, their size, etc., properties, whatever. So I meet you, you meet me, boy meets girl. Naturally, boy meets girl is coming with their own mask, which is their psychological baggage, right? Their own psychological dysfunction. And so when someone gets married, so getting back to that, staying on subject, I don't want to drift too far. When someone gets married, you're not wedded. You have just performed the ceremony.